Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. With I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. What the slump yesterday is. The slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. All right, what's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports. I got to remove this. The tab is still playing. No, YouTube's on autoplay. All right. What's up, everybody? 2-0 yesterday on the show. The Philadelphia 76ers. I told you I was going to play that. It was too long of an intro, probably, but whatever. The Sixers got it done. Outright win over the New York Knicks. Probably the only time that I actually prefer the 76ers when they're playing the Knicks. Fuck the Knicks, baby. Yeah, why not? I liked it. Nice outright win there with the dog. And then we got it done with the football game as well with Alabama. Down 17-0 early in the game. Yeah, no problem there. I told you Alabama was going to win that game. Never in doubt, obviously. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they did get outgained in the game. A pick six swung the game towards Alabama at one point because I think they were down 17-10. Oklahoma had the ball in their midfield. Pick six. That definitely impacted the game, but still. Alabama, they finished the game on a 34-7 run, dude, after they were down 17-0. So, whatever. We got the game right. There you go. 2-0. Let's get into today. We got a bunch of stuff today. I didn't do the show last night, I know, because college basketball, I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, the board is sizable, but it's not that big. I'm going to try to not take too long with this, but we'll see. I have 3 college basketball plays. I think I'm being selective with that. I'm going to have 2 NHL. There's a really big NHL card, or board today, I should say. 1 NBA. There's a bigger NBA board than I thought, but I only like 1 game. And then skipping football entirely today. I mean, there's not a whole lot to choose from, really, but I will talk about all the football games today. All right, yeah, let's get into it, man. College basketball, I think there's probably not as much of it because college football is taking center stage. So we do have a battle of Michigan up here early, but it's Michigan State hosting Oakland on Big Ten Network at noon. I mean, this is a game where, yeah, I mean, the only thing I can really say is Oakland, they'll try to step up their game for a game like this against an in-state big brother in Michigan State. Michigan State doesn't really have this game surrounded by anything big, so it's not really like a spot where they're going to be in a bad spot or anything like that. It's really just a matter of, is Michigan State going to be incentivized to cover this number? And it's going to be, I think, a contrast of styles where Michigan State plays slow, Oakland plays fast. The total is just kind of up there somewhere in the middle, so which team is going to win out? I mean, you'd have to imagine Michigan State will slow the game down and win out in the pacing battle there. And if so, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to cover. So I would probably take the points if I was going to play it, but extremely weak lean on that one. 63% of tickets, 75% of the cash on Michigan State. They did drop from 20.5 to 20 total in the mid 150s there. What's up, everybody? Garrett, what's up, man? I might have changed my mind on that UNC game. I will mention that one again. Dirty Sock, what's up? Zach, correct? Yes. Roll Tide, yeah. Not a fan of Alabama, really, but I mean, I find myself rooting for them somewhat often because they're so hated by everybody, but it becomes this thing where it's like there's value playing them from a betting perspective. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what it is, but I find myself having plays on Alabama somewhat often, despite them being a huge name. Noon, we also have Louisville and Montana. This game is at Louisville. Oh, by the way, the Michigan State game's not at Michigan State. I should have pointed that out. It's actually in Detroit, Michigan. So both campuses are somewhat close to Detroit. Doesn't really matter that much. Although, again, if Michigan State had it on campus, crowd would probably be a little bit rowdier. But how rowdy do you get when your opponent is Oakland? Probably not that rowdy. But Oakland's fan base will be there as well. Montana and Louisville, this game is actually at Louisville. I pointed out because Montana, I started this handicap going, oh my God, Montana just lost to a non-Division I team. I don't know how this even happened. Montana, I mean, we've seen them be one of the better Big Sky teams over the last few seasons. They lost to the Montana Tech Diggers, whoever they are. At Montana lost this game by 7. Montana, if the game even had a line on it, Montana would have been a massive favorite. I mean, not that ESPN's numbers are accurate, but they had Montana as a 99.8% favorite to win that game before it started. So they're coming off a horrible loss. They might have been looking ahead to this. Usually I'm going to look towards a team to bounce back from a loss that's that bad. And yes, Montana should get up for Louisville, but it's a difficult place to play at the KFC Yum Center, the finger-licking good center. Louisville's undefeated here, and Louisville, they kind of got embarrassed in their last game. It was a big game against Tennessee, but they lost by 21 points, and I called that game correctly here on the show. Maybe in hindsight, maybe should have thought about making that a play. Tennessee, easy win there with the contrast of styles there. So in a way, I kind of think Louisville should bounce back after a performance like that too, but it is kind of a sandwich spot in a way as well because they're coming off a run of Arkansas, Indiana, Memphis, Tennessee, and then they have Cal next. So they start ACC play next. So, I mean, this is the remaining what looks like kind of a flat spot on the schedule for them. So if that game against Tennessee was more competitive and closer, I think I would get there with Montana here, but I can't do it just because Louisville got blown out. But do with that information what you want. I would lean to Montana in this game. Louisville's up to a 31-point favorite, and yeah, they're the fast-paced team, but I just don't know if they're really going to have that much incentive to really run this thing up. You know what I mean? Like, they can beat Montana decisively without covering. 71% of tickets, 87% of the cash on Louisville. So the money is coming in on them early, but I would only take the points here if I was going to do anything here. 167, pretty high total. Louisville plays fast, probably will control the tempo there. Louisville's missing players, yeah. I haven't paid attention to the personnel at all. No starting point guard. It probably doesn't matter that much in a game like this, but yeah, I mean, either way, I think if you're going to play it, probably you should take the points with Montana. That's one of the better leans, I would say, today, in my opinion, just because Montana's loss was so bad, but it's not on my card. JMU's trolling the Ducks. That's not a good thing on their part. What's up, Nate? That's not a good thing because that's going to, if you do anything to anger your opponent, it gives them more like fuel, like more motivation. You know what I mean? So it's really stupid. Like if I was a coach, I'd be telling my players like, this team that we're playing is really fucking good. And I'd be like putting that out in the press. Like I'd be pumping up the other team basically, which is going to piss off my team more, you know, like behind the scenes, you know what I mean? But it's going to make us seem like complacent to the other team, you know what I mean? Or something like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, this team's really good. Like I wouldn't like do anything negative towards the other team to give them fuel. Although I'd have a hard time not because you know how I am. All right. Some of these other games, I mean, if you want me to talk about some of these other ones, I will, but a lot of these games are just crap in basketball here. Oh, it's JMU's Barstool. All right, and there's sports news. I haven't seen it. I haven't paid attention to that. All right, we do have a big game at 12:30 on CBS. St. John's, number 22 in the country against Kentucky. This game, I have a hard time with this game. This game is in Atlanta, so it's a neutral site game, although the location is more helpful to Kentucky. Both of these teams are weird. They're both really similar in that they both play fast, but they're both better defensively than offensively, according to Ken Palm, which St. John's was like that last year too. Kentucky played fast last year, but they were the typical fast offense, no defense type of thing. This year, that's not really the case. These teams are almost like mirror images of each other. Like they're almost like twins, really. And I think both teams are actually a little bit underrated right now because both teams have had a tough schedule. So they both have a decent amount of losses here. So what do you want to do with this game? Well, I'm passing it. I mean, it all comes down to, I mean, I think St. John's is favored by a little bit too, I think they're favored a little bit too heavily in this game, in my opinion. The schedule isn't really, there's nothing to really see in the schedule for either team. St. John's just beat DePaul. No big deal there. This is the CBS Sports Classic, by the way. Kentucky did just beat Indiana, I guess, so that is a more satisfying win, but they're not going to overlook a game against St. John's. You know, like this isn't going to be a letdown spot for Kentucky, I would not imagine. I would lean to Kentucky if I was going to play this. St. John's is a 2-point favorite. I think there's less separating these teams than that. Ken Palm has St. John's like only 2 ranking spots higher than Kentucky, I believe. He has them really close. Let me see. Where does he have these guys at? He has both of them in the top 25. He has St. John's 18 and Kentucky 19. So, again, these teams are very, very similar. Getting any points is probably a benefit in this one. 56% of tickets, 66% of the cash on Kentucky. Atlanta is more of a favorable location to Kentucky as well. Fan base probably is going to show up more for Kentucky. So, I would take the points with Kentucky if I was going to play it. It is a total in the high 150s. Since both teams do speed up the tempo. So I guess do with that what you want. You're not watching. Oh, you will be watching the FCS playoffs yet. Well, what do you mean? FCS, not FBS. Yeah, FCS. There's some good games in the FCS playoffs. The number 1 team got knocked out of the first round, though, which was, North Dakota State, I think. Yeah, JMU might pay for that. I agree with you, Garrett. Yes, Kentucky. That would be my lean in that one. All right. What else I want to? If you want me to talk about another one of these games, I will. But I'm kind of just skipping through a bunch of these games here. Games that just didn't really catch my eye. I'm going to talk about the big games, the games that caught my eye. St. Bonaventure and Lemoyne is kind of weird. I think Lemoyne is an upstate New York team, so they're going to be considering themselves to be a little brother against the Bonnies here. So Lemoyne's going to show up for this game, I would have to imagine. This is at St. Bonaventure. Bonaventure just took a loss, and they hadn't lost for a while. So I talk about when a team loses a win streak, sometimes it will hang them over. They had a pretty competitive game against Ohio. Ohio's a competitive team. Bonnies do have to play VCU after this, which is a bigger game, although that's not until New Year's Eve. So they do have a lot of time off after this, but I would lean to Lemoyne plus the points if I was going to play this one. Lemoyne did just face Texas, but they got obliterated. Yeah, it's their 3rd road game in a row, but they're back in their home territory in upstate New York here against St. Bonaventure, so more familiar territory to them at least. Bonaventure is up to 21, and the total's pretty low at 149.5, so it looks like the money came in on Bonaventure early, 88% of the tickets, 95% of the cash. I would lean towards taking it with Lemoyne, though, in that one. I don't know. Some of the FCS football is pretty good, but, yeah, nobody watches it. Yes, I'm the little brother. Yes, actually, I'm not. I only have one. I have one sibling, and she's younger than me. Although I'm little and then I'm way shorter than she is. I got the bad, short, stocky Italian genetics that are hanging around on my mom's side somewhere. And nobody in my immediate family is really short, just me. My dad is tall and my sister is tall and my mom is average height, maybe slightly above average. The Bonnies are good, that's true. It's all about the spot, man. Montana versus Montana State. Yeah, those teams hate each other too. The little brother aspect, I find myself not usually playing those games. I did with Southern Miss last weekend though, but that's only one factor that I look for. We have Mountain West play starting on CBS. This is going to be an interesting game, I think. Colorado State and Utah State. Although Utah State is the better team. I mean, I think they're probably the best team in the Mountain West right now. Utah State is. Colorado State, we know they actually made that run and won the Mountain West last year. They're 9-2 this year, but they have not really been battle tested yet. The one time they really had to step up in class, they did it twice, I guess. They lost to Virginia Tech, and they beat Colorado, which they always step up to play Colorado. Colorado's not that good this year. Virginia Tech really isn't either, so as crazy as it sounds, Utah State is the best opponent that Colorado State will have faced so far this season, so that makes it a little bit difficult. It's only going to be their 2nd road game of the season. Their other one was at Loyola Chicago, and we know all the struggles they've been having this year. So this is not going to be easy for Colorado State here. Utah State is the better team. They're sitting at 9-1. They're not really very battle-tested either, though. Their one loss was a road game to USF, South Florida, decent team. They do have one nice win in here against VCU, but both teams actually have a weak schedule so far. Utah State's coming off a not great performance against Illinois State, which I think might have been at home, or maybe it was in the Salt Lake Slam, so it was in Utah, but it wasn't on Utah State's campus. It was in Salt Lake. Not in the lake, in the city, I think. So not a great performance from Utah State there. They might have been looking ahead to the Mountain West opener. So if I was going to play this, Utah State would be the side I would look at in this one. I would lay it. They're up from 6 to 8 now. We see 63% of tickets, 66% of the cash on Colorado State right now, though, and the total's not that high at 148.5. But I would lay it with Utah State if I was going to play it. The Tulane game, by the way, well, we'll talk about it in a bit. I mean, there's the potential that game might be closer than people think it will be. All right, first best bet is coming up here. Let's do it. College basketball bets coming up here, man. First one is going to be, we're going to jump on NC Central plus 4.5 against Longwood. Longwood was like my bubble boy the other day. Like, I almost put them on my card. Saab, I believe, did have them on his card. They were an easy winner, an easy cover. They almost got the outright win. But, of course, when a team does that as a huge underdog, the move is to then look against them. So it's like the gift that keeps giving, basically. Like, if you get Longwood right, you get the chance to play against them the next game. Even though I didn't actually have them as a play, I was right about it. Now we can come in against them with a play here in what I think is a good spot to fade them. Longwood, as I'm talking about, they had a nice bounce back, man. It was a nice spot for them to bounce back because they had an awful loss to Delaware State prior to their last game. They stepped it up big time against Wake Forest, man. They showed up. They almost caught Wake on the road. They only lost by 3. They were like, 20-something point underdogs in this game. And again, when you have a 20-something point underdog and they almost win the game outright against one of the big conference teams like this, they're going to be typically flat in the next game, man. So I think we have a big flat spot here for Longwood. We have flat Longwood here. Doesn't sound great. Maybe they're just 2x4s. I don't know. But this game, this was in reach for Longwood, man. I mean, this is a close game, pretty much to the wire. Longwood, it was a back-and-forth game all game. Wake did take the lead in the second half, had it for a while, and Longwood tied it back up in the final 2 minutes of the game. They would not go away. They were still within 1 point with a minute to go. Brutal, brutal loss, man. Longwood, they gave, Wake all they could handle. Huge performance from them. Coming off of that, I just don't know if they're going to have anything left in the tank. I know it would be better if they had a huge game up next, but they do go into the Christmas break after this, so maybe they'll be looking ahead to that a little bit. Longwood, by the way, is 1-4 on the road as well, straight up. And NC Central's 4-1 at home. So all of their wins have come at home. I know most of them have been against bad teams. I get it. In fact, I think all of them are against non-Division I teams for North Carolina Central. But they're coming off of one of those, and I think it's actually a good thing because they were on another losing streak, and they broke that loss streak with a win over Matt C. Oh, the Mid-Atlantic Christian Mustangs. Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to take it. I mean, you could argue this is a look ahead to Penn State, but they don't play that game until after the break. A team like NC Central, I mean, they don't even have a Division I win yet. You know they're going to be looking to get one, and this is a winnable game, actually, for them. So we're going to do it. We're going to take the points with NC Central. Mostly it is a fate of Longwood, though. NC Central is a very bad team, but points in this game might be hard to come by as well because we're looking at offenses that aren't really that good either. Longwood's down from 4.5 to 4 here. Getting points at home, I say we do it. I know NC Central's very, very bad. Ken Baum has them way, way low here. He has them one of the bottom 15 teams in all of college basketball, but they have faced the third most difficult schedule according to Ken Baum. So they're not exactly the luckiest team. They're one of the more unlucky teams. And we have Longwood a bit higher in the luck index. Longwood has faced a much weaker schedule, one of the bottom 12 or 13 schedules in all of basketball there. Both teams are just bad. I mean, what else do you want? So we'll take the points at home with one of the bad teams in a bad spot. I believe NC Central actually might have the better defense out of the two if we're looking at Ken Baum's rankings here. Oh, no, they don't. It's fairly close, though. Longwood definitely has the better offense, but Longwood also plays fast. NC Central is going to try to slow this thing down, so I like that, too, because it's easier to slow things down, especially for the home team, and it's actually easier if you're the weaker team in the matchup. It is actually easier to slow it down because you just have to hold on to the ball, you know what I mean? So and hold on to it for a longer possession, basically. So, yeah, all of that, it does make me like NC Central. We're going to take the points there in that one. All right. What other games that I want to talk about here? Elon and Virginia Tech is kind of weird. Elon, they're coming off a nice win, man. They pulled off an upset over Richmond. It wasn't like a gigantic upset because I think it was at home for Elon, but Richmond off to a really good start. I think they were a one-loss team. Big win for Elon. So they could be in a little bit of a hangover here, but of course, you got to think they're going to show up when they're playing one of the ACC teams, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech 7-0 at home, 10-2 overall. They face a pretty weak schedule, though, and their 2 losses were to St. Mary's and VCU, which were the 2 most difficult teams they played all season. Even though those are not big conference teams, that is still the case. They did beat South Carolina on the road. That's their best win. They beat Providence as well. Providence not that good. Virginia Tech coming up blowing out Maryland Eastern Shore. Not an impressive win there. Although they did what they were supposed to do. They blew out a bad team. But they do have their huge game against Virginia next, although it's not until New Year's Eve. But maybe there's like a look-ahead component there because of that. Overall, you put all that stuff in a blender. I think Virginia Tech's not as good as their record really looks. I would probably lean slightly towards Elon here. The money is agreeing with that one. Virginia Tech's a 14-point favorite. 67% of tickets on them. 92% of the cash on Elon, with kind of a mid-tier total in the 150s. Kent State and UMass. This is a weird one, man, right? I looked at this and I was like, oh, Kent State is in a pretty bad spot here because they just had to go out to the Pacific Coast. They lost to Portland. Now they have to fly back all the way to the east to play UMass, and then they have Purdue after this in 9 days. So I'm like, oh, man. So they lost to Portland, which is a bad loss. I mean, Kent State was a favorite in that one, but that ended a long win streak for them. They hadn't lost since their first game of the season. So sometimes when that happens, you're not used to losing, and you will lose the game twice effectively, especially if you have a big look ahead next to Purdue like they do. With all this travel, I'm like, all right, this is a bad spot for Kent State. But the caveat there is Kent State was a big favorite against Portland, and they lost. So sometimes a big favorite that loses to a bad team like that will be in a bounce-back mode in the next game. Now, the other problem with looking towards UMass here, though, is UMass is not in a good spot. They just not only beat BC, their in-state biggest brother, but they beat Florida State following that. Florida State's not that good, but still, UMass just beat 2 ACC teams in a row. So I just don't know what they're going to have left in the tank. Like, sure, they're going to try to show up for Kent State. Kent State's good. They're one of the best teams in the MAC for sure. It's probably between them and Akron. But, yeah, this game, I looked at it. I just thought it was an interesting game from a handicapping perspective. Kent State flipped from a 1.5-point dog to a 1-point favorite. Looks like money is kind of coming back in on the UMass side. 59% of tickets, 60% of the cash on UMass. I have a hard time. I would probably just watch the market on this one and see what the market does. I have a hard time figuring out what I would want to do with this game, man. I mean, it might actually make sense to look towards UMass in this one, just with all the travel that Kent State is doing, and the negatives, as far as they're concerned, might be worse than the negatives for UMass, but that's why I'm not playing that game. The other Massachusetts game here that we have is Holy Cross and Harvard, an actual Mass versus Mass game here, but I think Holy Cross, they consider themselves to be the little brother here. They're probably going to get up for this game at Harvard in Cambridge. Holy Cross just lost pretty badly to Dartmouth. Not a good loss there. Probably in bounce-back mode here. They're going to show up for a game against Harvard, as I was saying. Harvard, they're coming off they had to play UMass and Furman on the road. Both of those teams are better than Harvard. Harvard was just down at Furman in South Carolina. Played decently, I think. Lost by 10 against a Furman team that was favored against them. Now they get little brother Holy Cross back at home, and they have to play St. John's in 3 days. That is a huge game on deck for Harvard, and it's coming up real soon. So I think Holy Cross is the way to look in this game. Holy crap. Not on my card, and hopefully they're not holy crap in this game, but Harvard's down from 10 to 9.5 as far as the spread is concerned. 136.5 total on that one. So it's a low total. Expected to be an ugly game, but yeah, I like Holy Cross in that one. Now we're going to get to your UNC game here. You had a parlay in the Alabama game. Was it including Alabama as a side, I assume? Hell yeah, man. All right, we have your North Carolina Tar Heels against Ohio State. This game is another one of those ones in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, the CBS Sports Classic. The location is more beneficial to North Carolina, you would have to think, because we're in the Southeast here. North Carolina's ranked. They're definitely the better team. Now, I was right about where the line would be. I said it was going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 3 and 4, which is where it is. So I was right, or Ken Baum was right about that. Yes. So in this game, you know, my instinct is always to kind of fade the ranked teams when you think you have like an undervalued team against them, but I'm not sure that that's the case here. Ohio State, they've not faced a difficult schedule so far, really, and they're coming off their 4 biggest games all in a row, pretty much, against Pitt, Northwestern, Illinois, West Virginia. I know Ohio State didn't play well against West Virginia, but thinking about it more, it was a 2 overtime game. It was a neutral site game. Kind of a game both teams are going to get up for. We got a win on the show with this one on West Virginia plus the points. They should have won the game outright, but West Virginia also, they grind you down. They play really slow and play physical against you. So coming off of all that, I'm actually kind of not liking Ohio State that much. Whereas North Carolina's coming off a much easier game against East Tennessee. They've had an easier run of a couple of games. The last couple of games against USC upstate, South Carolina upstate, and East Tennessee State. So I actually think the spot is actually probably easier for North Carolina here. So I would actually lean that way now that I have looked at the game more closely this morning. North Carolina up from 3.5 to 4 here. They're going to be the public side, but the money might be agreeing with the public in this one. 89% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the North Carolina side. If I was going to play it, I would probably lay it. But in a way, I mean, it still kind of looks too easy. Like I said yesterday, to lay 3.5, 4 with the big name team, the blue blood team. It's the ranked team. It almost looks too easy to do it. The total has skyrocketed from 152.5 to 158, with money coming in pretty heavy on the over. 60% of tickets, 94% of the cash on the over, which is probably a good thing for North Carolina because they do also play fast. So, we'll see. The UNC fans will show up for it. Yes, probably. Garrett is going to be watching. You're both are going to play North Carolina in the game. Good luck. I mean, again, I don't really disagree with it. So Seth Trimble is back. All right. Heels by 50. I would imagine they do not win the game by 50. Charles, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right. I want to get this done at least before noontime, though, but I think we will, even though there are some big boards here. All right. Another best bet here. We're going to be on Denver plus the 9.5 against Northern Colorado. We're going to go against one of the teams that we did have a play on that treated us well. Sorry, Northern Colorado. It was a nice fling, a nice one-night stand with you, a one-afternoon stand, afternoon delight with Northern Colorado. Afternoon delight. All right, we're going to go with Denver here, though. I mean, first of all, here we go. Here's the little brother. I am on the little brother here. That doesn't sound good. Northern Colorado's down from 9 to 8.5 here. Now, I found a 9.5 this morning. Hopefully, there's not that much of a difference there, although it seems like whenever I say that, it lands right on that number. 92% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Northern Colorado for now. Public's probably not getting involved in this game, but I don't know what to think about that market read right now, but I just am going to go with the spot here. We're going to fade Northern Colorado after what they did in their last game, which we won on it. They played really tough against Texas Tech, and I know they lost by double digits, but this is a big game, and Northern Colorado was in this game, man. They were losing the game, like barely losing the game, I think, at halftime. It was a close game at the half. Texas Tech got into a bigger lead, double-digit lead. Northern Colorado caught all the way back up. They caught up like twice in the second half. They made huge comebacks, and they were back within 2 with a few minutes left in the game, and they were still hanging around within 1 or 2 possessions late in the game until Texas Tech made a run late to finish it off. Huge game out of Northern Colorado. I think we're going to see a hangover spot from them after this. Oh, yeah, and then what do they have after they celebrate Christmas? They got to play the big brother, Colorado. So they have a huge game coming up on deck as well, even though it is after Christmas. That's one of the biggest games on their schedule, man, getting to play the University of Colorado. So they might be looking ahead to that, too. That's a big brother situation. That's a situation where Northern Colorado's the little brother. In this situation, they're the big brother. And yes, I know they're 4-0 at home, but of course, they could win and not cover here, and we'd still get the win with Denver as long as they cover. Denver just had an easy bounce-back game against some non-Division I Colorado school, I assume. Colorado Springs Mountain Lions. Yeah, okay. UCC, yes. So that's a nice tune-up game for Denver there. I know Denver doesn't play good defense. I know they're really, really bad defensively. But we're playing the spot here, man. This is all about the spot. And Denver's obviously a team that's not going to be thrown off by playing at Northern Colorado, playing in Colorado because they're a Colorado team. So playing in high elevation, it's basically all they do. So they're not going to be thrown off by that aspect of this game at all. So we're going with it. We're going with Denver in this one. Obviously, yes, I know they're the worst team fairly significantly, but all about the spot, baby. The total is dropped. I know it's a somewhat high total for taking the points, down from 166.5 to 161. Again, Denver is horrible defensively, so something you do have to worry about a little bit. Northern Colorado, I think, plays faster than Denver does as well. But, again, it's a spot play. I think it's the right side. We're going to do it. Denver plus the points in that one. And maybe Northern Colorado just doesn't have the incentive to totally run the floor there either, so... You're on both UNCs, yeah. You agree with Denver? Yeah. You're involved in games. I know what you mean. You're involved in games that both involve the NC teams. Yes. All right, and then my last bet is coming up here as well. So we're gonna be finished. All my games are in the afternoon, man. I'm gonna give you an ESPN game here with a play. I actually like this one. So the other games, I mean, you got to look towards like ESPN Plus to watch those other games. But this game, we're on the ESPN game. We're going to lay the points with Mississippi State -3.5 against Memphis. I'm going to go against my nemesis, Memphis, again here. The money seems to agree with this. Mississippi State up from 2 to 3, 3.5. You might be able to find 3 on this. The number, I mean, it might be a little bit high, debatably. I mean, KenPom doesn't have these teams separated by that much. Neither team is really that good, but it's all about the spot again here. 68% of tickets are on Memphis, 57% of the cash on Mississippi State. And yeah, normally a smaller conference team like Memphis will get up for a game like this against Mississippi State. But look at what Memphis just did, dude. They just beat Baylor 2 weeks ago. Then the following week, they had to play Louisville on the road, and yeah, they got blown out. But then on Wednesday, 3 days ago, this is the game that we talked about, and we had it correct on the show as far as Memphis covering. Memphis took Vandy into overtime, man. That was a monster performance from Memphis. Vandy is really good this year. They're ranked really high as well. They're an in-state big brother to Memphis as well, because Vandy is one of the big conference teams in the state of Tennessee. Monster game from Memphis, and they put in an all-out effort only to lose in overtime after they could have won the game against Vandy. I think they're going to be in a major flat spot after that, even though they are playing another SEC team. They're playing an SEC team that's only 6-5, man. Mississippi State is down this year. They don't look that good this year, but I think they're going to be up for this one because they have a little bit more rest. And look at the game that Mississippi State's coming off of. They almost lost at home to Long Island. This is crazy. Mississippi State had to have been like a 20-something point favorite in this game, I would imagine, right? ESPN had them at 95.7% to win the game prior to the game tipping off, and they almost lost. They were losing the game in the like late minutes of the game. Mississippi State had to escape with a win, and you know I talk about that when a huge favorite has an awful performance and they barely escape with the win. I like them to come out with a lot of focus in the next game. That's what we're going with here. It all lines up really nicely, in my opinion, for a play on Mississippi State here. And if you look at the spot Mississippi State was in, it wasn't good because they had gone into Salt Lake City and beaten Utah in the Salt Lake Slam. Then they had the Long Island game with Memphis on deck. So that was a sandwich spot, dude. Mississippi State got caught. Again, I think you're going to see a much better effort out of them this time. Memphis still has the name around them where teams are going to still, like, they're not going to overlook Memphis because they still have that name, you know what I mean? And again, when you're coming off a horrible performance like Mississippi State, you're not going to overlook your next opponent, man. So we're going to lay it with Mississippi State there, even though they're not that good this year. I don't think Memphis is very good either, and I don't like their coach. I think Mississippi State has the better coach with Jans there over Penny Hardaway, I assume is still at Memphis. I'm not a fan of his coaching. You're on both UNC money lines. Yeah, but I said Denver. Denver is the play against Northern Colorado. Well, I hate it if you're going against my Denver play. Yeah, obviously I don't like that. Kentucky, I would take the points. I mean, if they're giving you the points, I would take the points, the +2. I mean, you get a decent money line price on it too, but whenever you play a +2, I always say put 10% of the bet on the money line too, because you're pretty much saying they're going to win the game outright. I mean, in a game that's that close, if you wanted to just go all money line, I mean, I'm not really against that either, but I prefer to take the points and then put 10% of the bet on the money line. All right. We have Northwestern and Butler on Peacock at 4 p.m. Weird game here between a Big Ten team and a Big East team, although the teams are not separated by much geographically. This game is actually not at Butler's campus. It's in Indianapolis, which is Butler's city, but it's not at Butler's home court. So it's like a semi-home game for Butler. Northwestern coming off beating Valpo, not really a big deal there, although Valpo, I think, gets up for some of these games against other teams in this region. This is the Indy Classic, by the way. Butler coming in off a difficult game against UConn where they lost. I told you UConn was going to cover that one, which they did. Butler was coming off a double overtime game. I think the game before that against Providence, they were pretty gassed having to go up to UConn. Now, Butler did lose that game by 19, but that's still a difficult game. They're still having to travel back, and I think the public is going to look at this and kind of want Butler because they're basically a pick-the-winner situation here, up from pick 'em to 1.5. Odds makers are kind of telling you Northwestern's the better team, though, because Butler's still got to get a little something for playing in their home city. So I'm not going to disagree. I think Northwestern, the spot sets up easier for them. 58% of tickets, 92% of the cash on Northwestern. Both of these teams, I think, are not separated by that much. I think if you look at KenPom, he probably has the teams pretty close. He's got Northwestern 57th, Butler 55th. So he actually has Butler as a slightly better team. So he'd actually probably have them favored by a little bit more than this. But I kind of lean to Northwestern in that one based on the spot. Yeah, you can middle it, but when I'm fading a team because they're in a horrible spot like that, I'm basically saying that there's a pretty decent chance that I think they're going to not win the game. Like, so I'm going to have a little bit, like, whenever I play a game like that, I will have a little bit of it on the money line too. Like, that's the type of game where I'd probably have like 10% of it on the underdog money line, on Denver, on the team that I'm playing. Like, I'm just all in fade mode. Like, I'm not going to try for a middle on that and put any money on a team that I think is in a terrible spot. I'm not going to do that. I think there's a decent chance Northern Colorado loses that game. All right. We have, what else? What did I want to talk about next? I don't even know. I'm all thrown off here, man. Okay. Some of these games, I'm thinking about, like, previous games for some of these teams at this point here. Some of these teams had other games in between the two. All right, Long Island and Florida International. I will talk about this game because I just talked about Long Island. And like I said, they just took Mississippi State to the brink, man. That was a huge performance from Long Island. Now they're going to go down to Miami and face Florida International. And up next, although it's after Christmas, they got Georgia, who's a big conference team, SEC team. They're in the rankings now. So Long Island's in an SEC sandwich here, in a Southern fried chicken sandwich here, or whatever this is going to be. Horrible spot for Long Island here. Now, the only reason that I'm not playing this is FIU, they're good at home. They're 5-1 at home. That's good. A lot of the games, though, you got to take it with a grain of salt because a lot of those wins are against non-D1 teams early in the season. But the reason why I'm not going to do this is because FIU just had their biggest game of the season against Miami, FIU is in the Miami area. I think they're in Miami, literally, maybe. That's a huge game, playing the big brother in Miami, the U of Miami. And And this game was closer than it looked like on the scoreboard, too, as far as like what it was late in the game. They lost by 17 points, but they were kind of in this game, dude. They were still within single digits midway through the second half. So it was a big performance from FIU. So I'm going to skip it. I would still lean that way if I was going to play it. I mean, the spot is really, really bad for Long Island still. So I would still lay the points with FIU if I was going to play it. They're up from 4 to 5.5. So, that's what I would do in that one. Lay the points with Florida International if I was going to play it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to go for middles on this, man. I'm all in on like what I think is a strong situation here. What are we doing? I'm going to blame Dirty Sock for that, saying that he's on both UNC teams. No, I lean towards North Carolina. Don't have a strong opinion on that, but I have a strong opinion against Northern Colorado. All right, we have a huge game on CBS at 5:30. All right, we're almost done with the college basketball here. Number 8, Houston. Number 14, Arkansas. This is a big game. It's going to be a crazy contrast of styles. The game is a neutral location in Newark, New Jersey, for whatever reason. I don't know what this tournament is. It's the Never Forget Tribute Classic, so it's a 9/11 thing, I guess. Houston, we know, they're the defensive team. They're the team that plays slow. Arkansas is a more offensive team that plays fast. So it's that contrast of styles, the classic contrast of styles. Which one is going to win out is the question here. Houston is the better team, but you're going to be asking them to lay points here. They've had an easy run of games leading up to this one. They're not as battle tested as you would think. Beating Auburn by 1 and losing to Tennessee are their 2 biggest games. So not great so far for Houston, even though I came into the season thinking Houston might be the best team in the country. Maybe they are, but they're not very battle-tested right now. Arkansas is more battle-tested. Having played Michigan State, Duke, Louisville, Texas Tech, and they won 2 out of those 4. They're coming off a game where they won in a sandwich spot and beat us, beating Queens. I lost my play on that one by like 2.5 points on Queens, unfortunately, for my guy, Queens coach, one of my Twitter mutuals, I think, unless he's unfollowed me because I'm so crazy. This is a tough game to read, man. Arkansas coming into this one. You're going to be asking Houston as the more defense-oriented team to lay points here. The money seems to be coming in on Houston, though. I agree they're the better team. They're up from 4.5 to 5.5 here. Defense usually travels a little bit better than offense does as well. And you know me, I like defense more than I like offense. I'm old school. 68% of tickets, 77% of the cash on Houston. Money seems to be on the Houston side. Total's fairly low at 146.5. Money coming on the over, but a low total kind of indicates that Houston's probably going to be dictating the pace here and slowing this thing down, which it is easier to slow the pace down. So if they do that, that could frustrate Arkansas. I'll have a slight lean towards laying it with Houston, and I don't love it at all. Liberty versus Dayton and Marshall Troy. Yeah, all right. Liberty and Dayton, when was that? This is one of those afternoon games. On the USA Network, because they cover A10 games. I did not have a strong opinion on this game, obviously. I mean, Liberty's coming into this game beating Midway. They're not on Midway Island. They beat Midway, whoever that is, a non-Division 1 team. So they're coming off a really easy, like, tune-up win here. So the spot's not that bad for Liberty. For Dayton, undefeated at home, but they are coming off crushing Florida State, really. So, yeah, I could see it being a bit of a letdown for Dayton here, coming off annihilating Florida State. Now, Dayton, over the past few years, they've been a slow-paced team, but this year they're actually playing faster-paced than I thought. So the tempo thing for Dayton, they're actually sort of becoming the Flyers again now, where they're actually playing a little bit faster. But even so, this is a low total, and getting a lot of points is good when you have a low total in the mid-140s. Dayton's up to an 11-point favorite, but 82% of tickets, only 55% of the cash on them. Yeah, I would lean to taking the points with Liberty there. I think Dayton's in the worst spot after just blowing out Florida State, blowing out an ACC team, even though they're not a good one. Dayton might be feeling a little bit too high off of that. The other game was what? Marshall. Where are they at? I think I just saw them. I just skipped over that game. Where is that game? Come on, man. There it is at 2 p.m. Marshall, they just beat Wright State. Wright State is actually not that bad this year, it seems. I thought that they were not good to start the season, but they've been playing pretty competitive basketball. Marshall won that game by 2. I think Marshall was probably a slight favorite in that game, so I'm guessing they didn't cover. Now they're going out on the road. They have not been great on the road. The last 3 road games they lost and didn't cover. Actually, they covered one of them against UNC Wilmington. So actually, maybe they're not that bad on the road. That's why I faded them in the next game. We got a win with Ohio in the game after that one because Marshall gave UNC Wilmington all they could handle. Wilmington's really good. Anyway, this game, going back out on the road to face Troy. If I remember correctly when I looked at this game, I think Troy just beat UAB, right? So I think it is a letdown spot for Troy. Yeah, so they beat UAB by 1 on the road. UAB was probably a favorite of several points in that game. That's an even bigger deal for Troy because UAB, they probably consider UAB to be a bigger brother to them in the state of Alabama. These are both Alabama schools. So, yeah, I think it's a letdown spot for Troy coming into this one. So, opinion from me would be on Marshall in this game. The money seems like it agrees with that one as well. Troy down from 5 to 4.5. Troy down from 5 to 4.5. If Troy plays like they have the last couple of seasons, they're also more of a defense-oriented team. So, also a team you don't necessarily want to lay points with. Ken Pom actually has them really balanced this year. 145th in both offense and defense. So, they're actually not a horrible team, really. They're high up in Ken Pom's luck index, though. Yet, they have faced a fairly difficult schedule. And they're a mid-tempo team. I mean, nothing to really see there. Hard to gauge, but 74% of the cash coming in on Marshall. So, yeah, my opinions would be to take the points with both of those underdogs, Liberty and Marshall. Okay, so hopefully that made enough sense. Maryland at Virginia is the ESPN game at 6 p.m. Virginia is in the rankings at 23. Virginia seems to be back on the rise. I mean, historically, very good basketball program. Yes, sir. You're going to parlay both of those spread bets? All right. Hopefully that wins. I mean, again, you know me. I'm against parlays. So, because one loss takes the whole thing down. But, yes, I agree with both of those sides. This Maryland team, I mean, they just really have not been as good as people thought that they might be. Last year, they were really good, but they were a very top-heavy roster last year. Like, they had Queen, who's doing well in the NBA now. Maryland's top few guys from last year are all gone. So this Maryland team is not looking very good at this point. They played a very difficult schedule too, though. But now they're coming off a loss to Michigan. They lost by 18 points. They're on the road here at Virginia. Not going to be that easy for them, I don't think. Maryland's only played 1 road game so far, and they did beat Marquette. And that was the game that Maryland's best player got hurt in that game. Pharrell Payne, I think is his name, whatever his name is. But they're not that road tested here. Marquette's not that good, as we know. Virginia's definitely better than Marquette. Virginia plays a much different style of game. They slow you way down. Virginia coming off an easy win over Maryland Eastern Shore. Virginia has not had a very strong schedule either, though. Their best win is probably the one against Northwestern, actually. Maybe road game against Texas, actually, maybe is probably the best. They did lose to Butler, one of their other step-up games. So this team is not that battle-tested. So Maryland is more battle-tested here. You're getting a ton of points in this game, by the way. So I was actually kind of surprised how big this line is. Virginia's down from 15 to 14.5 here. Total kind of in the mid, it's in the mid 150s, so higher than I thought it would be. But Virginia, unless I'm wrong about it, Virginia plays slow. Yeah, they still play pretty slow. So a slow-down team like that, laying points when they're not a very battle-tested team. I know Maryland has not stepped up well either, really, but I think I would take the points in this game if I was going to play it. We still don't really know who these teams are yet, I don't think. 71% of tickets, 75% of the cash on Maryland. Don't have a strong opinion on it at all, obviously, but that might be the way that I would look in that one. Saab, what's up? Thank you, sir. Bama. So you went with me against yourself, so you had money on Oklahoma, and then you went all the way back and put way more on Alabama. All right, well, if I was wrong, I'd be pissed about that. I don't want to mislead people here. But yes, thank you, sir. I'm happy that I was right about that. Trying to give out winners here. Another big game on Peacock, 6:30 p.m. We have Auburn and Purdue. This is in that Indianapolis tournament where Butler is also playing, whatever this is. So it's basically a semi-home game for Purdue because Purdue is also in Indiana. Yeah, it's the Indy Classic. So semi-home game for Purdue. You know, their crowd will show up for this. They're the better team over Auburn this year. There's no question about that. We all know this, though. Auburn coming off a win over Chattanooga, whatever, basically. They bounced back nicely after getting blown out by a pretty good Arizona team. Purdue might actually be a little bit under the radar right now. They're 6th in the country. Ken Bum does have them 6th overall, but I think they're still like a top team, man. Purdue coming up beating Marquette easily. I probably would not want to look to fade Purdue in this spot, though. I mean, beating Marquette is just whatever. I mean, Marquette's not that good. I know Auburn's coming off an easier game against Tennessee, Chattanooga, but both teams are going to show up for this. I'd probably look towards the team that is the team that's closer to home, that's actually the better team with Purdue, although they do slow the game way down. So laying points with them, a little bit iffy, but they do usually shoot very efficiently. 67% of tickets, 68% of the cash on Purdue at a -8.5 favorite there. Total down into the mid-150s there. Yeah, not a game that I'm really that interested in, though. Fresno at UNLV. Really, the handicap here is UNLV. First of all, it looks like you don't want to lay points with UNLV. Like, why would you want to lay 8.5 with a team that's 4-6 against a 6-5 team, right? Well, UNLV's faced the more difficult schedule, obviously, if they're favored by that much. Obviously, the odds makers are telling you they're the better team. And they're also coming off a real ugly loss at home to Tennessee State. But you can kind of see why that happened because UNLV came off a run of Maryland, Alabama, Rutgers, beating Stanford on the road. So I think they just had nothing left in the tank, and Tennessee State caught them at a good time. So now I expect UNLV to bounce back after that. That was an ugly loss for UNLV as a really substantial favorite at home, probably a double-digit favorite in that game. So, again, a double-digit favorite loses at home like that. They're probably going to bounce back. Fresno really has not been battle-tested. They haven't faced anybody that good except Arkansas, and Arkansas annihilated them. UC San Diego, I mean, that's a fine loss, only losing to them by 5, but really Fresno has not stepped up in class yet. This is only their second road game of the season after losing the first one in their previous game against Cal State Northridge. I don't love it at all. Even though, yeah, I think this is the Mountain West opener, actually, for both teams, but I expect UNLV to show up and bounce back. I would lay it with UNLV in this one if I was going to play it, up from 7 to 9. Saab, what's up, man? I agree with Florida International. You're on Denver and NC Central. Was that independent of me? Are you spying on me again? Haven't talked about Richmond or UNC Wilmington. I don't have much of an opinion on that. I have a fairly decent opinion on FIU. I agree with it, but I worry about them coming off that Miami game, which was big for them. And then, Nevada. I mean, I could talk about that game, I guess. I haven't talked about it yet. I think I agree with you in that one, too, though. I don't really have much of an opinion on those other ones, though. Okay, we do have now Portland State at Tulane. I'm going to point out that Portland State just played pretty close against who was it? I can't even bring up the tab. I think it was Colorado. Yeah, even though they lost by 11, Portland State was in this game at Colorado, man. Now they're having to go all the way to Tulane before they come back out into the mountains to face Weber State. I don't like how this sets up for them, man. So I'd be looking towards Tulane in this game. Tulane coming off beating Louisiana Tech, though. I mean, maybe that's kind of a satisfying win, beating one of their siblings in the state of Louisiana. But, yeah, Tulane's up from 2 to 4 here. I don't have a strong opinion on that one, but I think Tulane is the way to look in that one. You're spying on me in the NHL. Tampa and Calgary, you do not have my two plays in the NHL. I thought one of mine I thought was going to be obvious because it has me written all over it. Saab is a time traveler, yes. Although I agree with the Lightning. I don't even remember if I have much of an opinion on Calgary or not. Duke and Texas Tech, ESPN, 8 p.m. This is a huge game. Duke 3rd in the country, Texas Tech 19th. Duke is definitely the better team. This game is at Madison Square Garden. Duke, I mean, they have a bigger fan base, so the fan base should be more beneficial to Duke. They do have a big fan base in the Northeast, so I think Duke will have the benefit of the fan base here. Duke coming off beating Lipscomb and not covering, which we had Lipscomb in that game. Easy win for Duke coming off of that. Both teams are coming off kind of ugly performances, though, especially Texas Tech, which I already talked about. Texas Tech didn't do well against Northern Colorado, even though they won by 11. I mean, that was a fairly close game. So both teams are kind of in focus spots here. Both teams are looking ahead to this game. In that case, I think you kind of got to just look towards the better team, though. So I'm not going to disagree with laying it with Duke in this one, even though they do play slow-ish usually. But this year, they're actually playing a little bit faster. They actually play faster than Texas Tech does this year. So maybe Duke might actually even speed the game up a little bit. And you can see the total's not that low in the 150s. Duke, 8.5-point favorite, 86% of the cash on them, 55% of tickets on Texas Tech. It looks like the public is actually kind of thinking that the line is high, even though you'd think the public would be on Duke almost always, but they look like they're slightly tilting towards Texas Tech, which is weird, but the actual money to me looks like it is on Duke. I don't really disagree with it, but I don't have a strong opinion really on that one either. The Blues, yeah, yes I am. That is correct. All right. Not to give it away or anything, but yes, Stanford at Colorado on ESPNU at 8 p.m. Big conference game here between an ACC team and a Big 12 team. Stanford coming in off some kind of lackluster efforts against San Jose State, UT Arlington. I think they're going to show up here. This game is in Phoenix, so I don't really know which team it benefits more, really. Colorado plays in Arizona more often, probably, though, in the Big 12 now. Colorado actually, I think, returned to the Big 12 because I think I remember them being in the Big 12 not that long ago. Well, but of course, I mean, back in the Pac-12, both of these teams played Arizona, so whatever. Colorado's coming off that uglier game against Portland State, where Portland State almost caught them. So I kind of think Colorado might be in a better spot here to bounce back from that. So for me, I slightly lean towards them. The money is coming in on Stanford, though. 75% of tickets, 87% of the cash on Stanford. Odds makers line in Colorado is a 4.5-point favorite in this one. So telling you they are the better team. Slight lean to that, but I don't love it at all. We got Xavier and Georgetown on Fox Sports 1. Big East matchups here late at night. Two of them battling with each other, although pretty sure the people watching these games are going to be watching the other game, Marquette and Creighton, and not Xavier and Georgetown. Xavier's definitely not that good this year. Xavier just got annihilated by Creighton, though. Embarrassing. Losing by 41 points. I said I liked Creighton to cover in that game. I did not think they were going to win by 41. Ridiculous loss for Xavier. I mean, you got to think they're going to bounce back from that. I know they play UConn, but it's after the holidays, whatever. It's on New Year's Eve, actually. But still, I kind of think they're going to give you a better effort here, although Xavier's not road tested. Their only road game was a loss at Iowa, but Georgetown's not as good as Iowa. Xavier's more familiar with playing in Georgetown because they're in the same conference. Georgetown's coming off a nice upset win at Marquette. So you could argue they're in a little bit of a letdown spot, and Xavier in kind of a bounce back spot from an embarrassing performance. So I would take the points with Xavier if I was going to play this. Georgetown's up from 4 to 4.5 here, 56% of tickets, 51% of the cash on them. I lean towards Xavier plus the points. Kind of a similar setup between Marquette and Creighton because these four teams just all played each other. So now they're rotating and playing against each other. So a lot of times when you have that setup, I get two plays out of it. In this one, I'm just holding off on both, but you know which way I'm going to lean in both games. So now Marquette is coming off that loss I just mentioned at home to Georgetown. So I think they're going to bounce back in this one, although they have to go to Creighton. Maybe a little bit difficult, but Marquette is still a Midwestern team. So going from Milwaukee to Omaha, not a huge deal for them. Creighton coming off that walloping of Xavier, where they might be feeling maybe too high on themselves after a win like that, man. So pretty simple in that one. Yeah, I mean, I lean to Marquette in that one. The money seems to agree. Creighton down from 8 to 6.5 here, 62% of tickets on them, 61% of the cash on Marquette. I like Marquette, and both of those totals are at 151.5, by the way, in both games. So I lean to both underdogs in those games to simplify those, because I think they're both kind of in bounce back spots in a way. So those are my opinions on those two. Ducks or Sharks? Saab is spying on me. All right. And then we have a couple of big games late at night. Well, Boise, Nevada, it's pretty big because it's Mountain West. This game, Boise, I mean, they're coming off a huge win over St. Mary's, dude. And this is a nice upset win for them. Although it was a neutral site, St. Mary's was still probably a favorite of several points. This game was in Idaho, though. So the location was more beneficial to Boise. Big win for Boise, though. They do have New Mexico next, so it's not for 10 days. I'm not sure they're going to totally overlook their conference opener, which is kind of my hesitation here. But, yeah, it does kind of look like a letdown spot to me here. Nevada, coming off barely beating Duquesne at home. Duquesne's a solid team, but Nevada was still, I think, favored in that game. It didn't cover. So I agree with Nevada on this one. Staying at home, I think the spot does set up better for them. Boise, looks like they're in the letdown spot to me. Both teams are in their conference opener here. You're getting points with Nevada. Boise up from 3 to 3.5. Money coming back towards Nevada. 53% of tickets, 78% of the cash on Nevada here. Boise also plays slow, and the total's down to 141.5. So a slow-paced team laying points on the road, not usually something I want to look towards. Nevada, probably not quite as good as their 8-3 record looks, though, so I do kind of worry about that. That Nevada really just is, they're not very tested. The best teams they played were probably UC San Diego, which they did win. San Francisco, they did win that one. They lost to Washington, and they lost to Santa Clara. So, yeah, but overall, yes, I would lean to Nevada taking the points there. I agree with that. Blues are in third games in 4 days. I like it anyway. It's a huge pulled pork sandwich in that game. San Diego State at number 1 Arizona. Of course, Ken Baum will be telling you Arizona's not actually the number 1 team. According to him, he has them at 4. They're still really, really good, though. San Diego State maybe looks a little bit down this year. They just have not stepped up well in class, man. Their only win against a big conference team is against Oregon, who failed to cover their first 9 or 10 games. San Diego State lost to Michigan, although that was expected, but they also lost to Baylor. They don't have any impressive wins, man. And now they're having to go to Arizona in Phoenix, so the location is better for Arizona. It's not on their campus, but it's in Phoenix. Arizona coming off that game against Abilene Christian. I don't know which team covered that one. It landed right around the number. Arizona coming off that easy win. They're not in a bad spot here. Both teams will show up. You know, I kind of expect Arizona to be able to run away with this. They're going to push the tempo as well. They're going to go faster. San Diego State wants to play slow. San Diego State just beat Air Force, whatever. Yeah, the money's disagreeing with me on this one, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of think Arizona is going to be difficult for San Diego State to handle. Arizona laying 14 points, which is quite a bit, but there's a reason for it. 85% of the tickets on Arizona, 64% of the cash on San Diego State. So the money is saying San Diego State. I don't really agree with it. I would probably lay the points with Arizona. And then, yeah, Saab, your other games. I mean, I don't know. Do I want to talk about your other games? What other games did you say you were on? I have no idea. I didn't have a strong opinion on either of them. I forget what you said, which games you're on, but I want to finish this show here, man. We got a lot to talk about here. Hopefully it's not going to take me another hour. I got to get this done and get my bowl stuff ready. Yeah, what were we talking about here? Oh, yeah. Richmond, UNC women. I talked about Nevada. I agree with you on that one. I think it is a letdown for Boise. Yeah, Citadel at Richmond. I agree with you on this one, too. The Citadel, they're coming off 2 huge games against in-state big brothers. South Carolina, they didn't play too badly, and then they took Charleston pretty much to the limit. So now after those, a 3rd straight road game. Now, my hesitation with it is that Citadel might still show up for a game against Richmond because Richmond is still a good team. I think it's more that you're playing against the fatigue factor here. I still agree with it. Citadel might just have nothing left in the tank. Richmond, as I mentioned, is coming off kind of an ugly loss where they were favored on the road. They lost to Elon. Maybe kind of worry about Richmond being in a hangover spot, though, because sometimes when you take a loss and you lose a long win streak, it'll hang you over into the next game. But yes, I do agree with Richmond in this game. They're down from 21 to 18.5, though, so the market is disagreeing with it. But I agree with you. I would lay it with Richmond if I was going to play it. 70% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the Citadel. Total's fairly low at 147.5, so I don't love laying points with a low total like that either. But, yes, I don't disagree. Yeah, FIU, I talked about that, I think, right before you got onto the stream here. Yeah, I agree with that one, too. Florida International is one of the better ones, I think, of the day. But again, I can't do it because they're coming off that game against Miami that they put in a big effort in that game against Miami. That was a huge game for them. So I kind of worry about that. And then you like Wilmington against Howard. I don't think I have much of an opinion on this one. Howard just upset Drexel, I guess, on the road. They do have Northwestern next, but it's not for 10 days. I mean, beating Drexel, I don't think is going to put you in a hangover spot or anything. I think teams are going to step up to play a team like UNC Wilmington, man. And UNC Wilmington, yeah, they're coming off kind of an iffy effort against Valpo. They didn't play particularly well. So, yeah, I expect them to show up. This one, I think, is the weakest of all of those. I don't have much of an opinion on this one at all. This one just didn't really catch my eye whatsoever. Down from 15.5 to 14.5 is UNC Wilmington is the favorite, obviously. 75% of tickets, 95% of the cash on them. The total down to 141.5, so it's kind of a low total. Don't know if I love laying it with a low total. I'm not really going to disagree with Wilmington there, but I just don't really have any strong angle on that one at all. All right, hockey. Let's do it. Try to get through this, man. This is a huge hockey board. We have afternoon games at 12:30. Flyers at Rangers. Flyers coming in off a loss to Buffalo. Pretty ugly loss for the Flyers. And you know I don't like the Rangers at home, man. Flyers maybe trying to salvage the final game of the road trip and split the road trip 2-2. Ugly loss that they're coming off of against Buffalo. Again, I always talk about how bad the Rangers are at home. That trend has continued. They have not been good at home. They just lost again at home, I think. Yeah, to Vancouver. I don't think we had a play in that one, but they've lost their last 2 home games again now. They've been awful at home. They just went out and they won on the road, which is a win for us on Thursday on the show with the Rangers. Play them on the road, fade them at home. We made a decent amount of money this year doing that. Now they're at home. This isn't one of my plays, but I'm going to have to lean to Philadelphia here, man. Rangers coming back from St. Louis. I know that's not a big win or anything, but Rangers, I just don't trust them at home. And Philly is staying in the state of New York. Travel a little bit easier for them. Looks like they're kind of in a bounce back spot. So I'm going to look towards Philly in this one. The money seems like it agrees, even though the Rangers did go up from minus 125 to minus 141 on the money line. 68% of the tickets on them, but 51% of the cash on Philadelphia. So, yeah, I would lean towards the Flyers there. Detroit at Washington is at the same time. This one's the NHL Network game at 12:30. Good game, big game. Both of these teams pretty solid. Detroit coming into this game off a pretty ugly loss at home against Utah. They've had 2 days off, and now they're going out on the road only for one game. But I think they're going to show up for it because when you have a loss at home and then you get some time off, it was an ugly 4-1 loss. I think having extra days off and going out on the road, all of that is beneficial when you just played an ugly game at home. So I think they bounce back from that. They use the rest to fix some things, as I always talk about. For Washington here, Washington's coming up beating Toronto 4-0, and they're just staying at home off of that. I'm not going to say Washington's not going to show up, though, for a game against Detroit. I mean, they will, most likely, so I don't have a strong opinion on this, but just based on what these teams did recently and the fact that it is a positive spot for Detroit, I'd lean to Detroit in this one slightly. Washington down from minus 165 to minus 162 on the money line. Market seems to be in agreement with me on this one. 58% of the tickets on Washington, 54% of the cash on Detroit. So, again, just putting all the info out there. Chicago at Ottawa. Chicago on a massive skid right now. As I told you, they weren't as good as their record made them look. They've now lost 4 more games in a row. It's been ugly, though, so they're probably going to want to try to salvage the last game of this road trip here after an ugly 4-1 loss to Montreal. They're going up to Ottawa. Ottawa has been decent this year. Ottawa, they just beat Pittsburgh 4-0 on the heels of beating Winnipeg in overtime to finish the road trip. So they actually returned home and still got the win. Now they're staying at home. They do have Boston tomorrow, which might be a bigger game because it's still kind of the Omark battle there and whatever. They might overlook Chicago in a spot like this. So my lean in this one is Chicago. Not strong, though. Ottawa's a huge favorite, down from -250 to -240. Oddsmakers really not respecting Chicago at all. Really telling you they're one of the lower teams in all of the NHL. 78% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Ottawa. But if I was going to play it, I mean, I think grabbing Chicago plus the 1.5 goals or whatever in that game kind of makes sense in a spot like that. All right, Edmonton at Minnesota. This is a big game. Minnesota's hot. Edmonton, they're kind of on the way back up here after an ugly start, kind of like last year. They just beat my Boston Bruins, unfortunately. Now they're coming to the end of a road trip here. It's already been a successful road trip, but I don't think they're going to overlook Minnesota, man. I'm just, because of how hot Minnesota's been. This is a big game. Now for Minnesota, Minnesota's on a nice stretch where they've won 6 games in a row. They also beat my Bruins in there. But yeah, I mean, a couple of those games are pretty impressive, beating Dallas and Washington by a combined 10-2. Coming off a win over Columbus, which was whatever, a 5-2 win, which I thought that was a bad spot. We lost on that one, I'm pretty sure, on the show. I thought that was a weird spot, just a single game travel spot there. Now they get Edmonton. They do have to play Colorado tomorrow. That's a big game, but I don't see them overlooking Edmonton, man. Although they did go into Edmonton and beat them 1-0 on December 2nd, so you know, this game is one of the harder ones for me to read. Like, I have more of an opinion on the other games I talked about so far than this one. The money is saying Minnesota, but I'm not really sure I agree with it. Minnesota up from -115 to -127. 78% of the cash on them. 52% of tickets on Edmonton. I don't know. I slightly lean towards Edmonton here. Money is saying otherwise. The money's coming in on Minnesota. Maybe Minnesota is not as overvalued as they were last year, man. Islanders at Buffalo. Islanders are on a back-to-back, I believe, so that's not easy. They did just lose to Vancouver yesterday, 4-1. That is an ugly loss, but they're on a back-to-back, and they do have to face New Jersey after this, after they have this single road game against Buffalo. So I don't know if it's really a bounce-back spot, even though, yeah, that was an ugly loss yesterday. But on the back-to-back, don't know how the Islanders really respond to it. Buffalo, they are coming into this off a nice win over Philadelphia, staying at home. That was a return home spot, too, and they still beat Philadelphia. They also play New Jersey next, but it's tomorrow. This game's hard to read, man, because I could see Buffalo maybe losing this win streak here as well. Buffalo did just beat Vancouver in Vancouver, so people might see that, oh, Buffalo just won at Vancouver, and Vancouver just won at the Islanders, so obviously Buffalo's going to beat the Islanders at home, right? So there might be that, like, transitive thing kind of getting in the way here. The money is all over Buffalo here. I don't know what happened here. If maybe there's, like, a goaltending switch. I don't know what's going on. Is there, like, an injury? Like a goaltending injury for the Islanders? Buffalo's up from -140 to -182. That price shocks me. It makes no sense. 58% of tickets, 98% of the cash on Buffalo. But I think people are also going to look at that and think that that line makes no sense. Like, how could this team that's, like, less than a 500 team, if you include the overtime losses, how could they be favored by that much over a team that has a way better record? It's weird. Buffalo is pretty good at home, though. 10-5-2 at home. That's something that's gone under the radar. The Buffalo is definitely better at home. Yeah, I agree. The line is sort of telling you what you should, like, what you need to know, telling you the Buffalo is kind of the right side here, but you're laying a huge price with them if you want to do that. I mean, I guess I won't disagree with Buffalo, but man, that is a huge price. Let's go to some best bets here. All right, we're going to get hockey done. We're flying through it. As I told you, you know what my first play is. We're going to split the bet on the St. Louis Blues. partially on the plus 1.5 puck line at minus 160, and partially on the money line at plus 158. I did the calculation here, if you can see it on the Johnny Ma baseball run line calculator. It's the same thing, though. Like, basically, you just want to have it do the math for you to figure out the amount that you risk on the the amount that you risk on the negative side of the money line, which in this case is the puck line part of it, should be the same that you're risking to win on the other side of it, on the plus money side of it, which in this case is the money line, if that makes sense. So if it lands on one, you're going to push. You're going to push the bet. So that's what we're doing here. I know it's a little bit risk averse. It's a minus 101 effective line there that you create on your own plus one puck line. That's what we're doing here on this one. Yeah, the spot is just awful for Florida, dude. And yes, Saab pointed out St. Louis is playing a third game in 4 days. I'm not very concerned by that because the first 2 games were at home, and now they're starting a road trip. And you know I talk about that. When you start a road trip, usually you're focused. You want to get the road trip off on the right foot. If they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities with all that travel, it might be worse. But starting a road trip, I like it, especially coming off a loss at home. I think that's a positive spot for a team. Just get out of home when you're losing. You're usually focused to start a road trip. They're going to be focused on the back-to-back returning champs here. So Florida, I mean, the spot that Florida is in is terrible, in my opinion. They're on a back-to-back, so you want to talk about not being rested. They literally played yesterday, and they beat Carolina in a shootout yesterday. So this Florida team, this recent stretch of games, they lost to Colorado on the road. They beat Dallas on the road in a shutout. Beat Tampa Bay on the road, coming back to Florida. In the return home spot, they still won against the Kings and beat us. And then they beat Carolina yesterday. So they're through all that. And now they face St. Louis with no rest. So they're probably going to have Tarasov in net again for this one. And by the way, their last loss was with him in net, that loss to Colorado. I know it was Colorado on the road, but still, Bobrovsky is the better of the goalies. And Florida has Carolina again next, and then Tampa Bay, Washington, Montreal. All of these games are bigger than that. And then they have a neutral site. I think it's the whatever it's called, the Winter Classic, I think is what they're in against New York, against the Rangers. So that's a big deal too. And then they play Colorado. So every one of these upcoming games is bigger. I think they're going to completely overlook St. Louis here. I love this one. This is better than my other play, in my opinion. We're on St. Louis. The money is agreeing with this. Florida down from minus 180 to minus 179. 59% of the tickets on Florida. 72% of the cash on the St. Louis Blues. We are on the Blues. Hopefully we don't get the Blues. The Blues have been up and down for us this year. Yeah, we were. I think we started out 4-2 with the Blues, but now we're 4-4. Playing on them. They're the team that I've played the most this year, but hopefully they get it done for us this time. All right, Vancouver at my Boston Bruins. Vancouver off a nice win over the Islanders yesterday, so they're on a back-to-back. Not the greatest spot here for them. I mean, it's not that much travel from New York to Boston, but still, they're still doing that, although they've been in the New York area since last Sunday. But still, I don't know if I love the spot here, man. On the back-to-back, they'll probably have Lankinen in net. They did not do well. He's the last 4 games that he started, they've lost all 4. Actually, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 games in a row that he started, Vancouver's lost. That's not a great sign if he's going to be in net here. I'm assuming he is because it's the back-to-back, and Demko played yesterday. Bruins probably will have, actually, I don't know if they'll have Korpisalo in net. They used Swayman 3 games in a row, so I'm guessing it will be Korpisalo here. So I worry about the Bruins because they might be focused more on Ottawa next. Although they are staying at home, they probably want to go 2-1 on this homestand rather than 1-2. They had the day off yesterday after losing to Edmonton. So overall, I think the spot is a little bit better for the Bruins. The money disagrees with me on that. They're up from minus 154 to minus 155. 64% of tickets on them. 76% of the cash on Vancouver. I don't fully agree on that one, though. A slight lean to the Bruins, but no bias. I mean, you know, I'm a Bruins fan, obviously, but that's just my read on the game. It's not a strong one at all. Pittsburgh at Montreal. Pittsburgh coming off that shutout loss to Ottawa. They're on a huge skid, 7-game skid. 4 of those losses in overtime, though. So I think we might be at a point where now the recent performance from Pittsburgh is worse than they actually are, even though I thought they were way overrated when they were 14-7-5. They haven't won since they made the goalie swap, but this might be the game where they do get a win. Coming off a shutout loss 4-0 like that, that's ugly. I expect they bounce back. It's probably Skinner in net again here for them because he didn't play in the last game. I don't know if that's good because I don't think Skinner's that good. Montreal is coming up, blowing out Chicago, staying at home. Yeah, I think the spot just sets up a bit better for Pittsburgh here, so not a strong opinion really, but just based on what the teams look like recently, I think there might be some value on Pittsburgh. Montreal's already dropped from -150 to -135 on the money line. Money is agreeing with Pittsburgh in this one. 76% of tickets, 88% of the cash on Pittsburgh. I agree, obviously. One of Saab's plays. What was your other play, Saab? I forget. You had, what did you have again? You had Tampa Bay. I know you had one. Oh, Calgary. I haven't talked about that one yet. Yeah, Tampa Bay. I agree with you on this one. It's not one of my plays, but of course, as I already mentioned, since Florida is in a back-to-back, well, so is Carolina. Carolina just played in Florida, lost in a shootout. Big game, tough game, and they lost a 5-game win streak where 4 of their last 5 games have gone to shootouts. So they've been through kind of a gauntlet here, man. And, yeah, they're traveling, across the state of Florida here. But after losing a win streak like that, sometimes that hangs you over. That was a big game yesterday against Florida. My hesitation would be that I think if they can, they're still going to try to get up for this game because it is against Tampa Bay. They're a good team. But, yeah, I think the fatigue factor might be a bit much for Carolina here. Vasilevsky returned for Tampa Bay in their last game, and they lost 2-1, although I don't think he was bad in the game at all. They're on a 3-game skid. They're going to try to get a win at home here. People are going to also see that Tampa just lost to Florida more ugly back on Monday, so public might maybe side with Carolina for that reason. But, yeah, it looks like kind of a bounce-back spot for Tampa. I'm guessing Vasilevsky will play again here because he was off for so long with that injury, but he is back. They're going to be looking to break that loss streak. So, yes, I agree with Tampa Bay in this game. Not on my card, but yes, I agree with it. They're up from -110 to -119. 55% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on Tampa. So the money also agrees. Toronto at Nashville. All right, let me see. Yeah, Toronto's coming off that 4-0 loss at Washington. That's a tough game, though. I know it's a bad loss, 4-0, but you step up your game to play Washington, man, and now they get this still ugly Nashville team, the sex offenders, and then they have to play Dallas on the road tomorrow. So there are some sandwich aspects to this spot here, man, that I don't like for Toronto. For Nashville, yeah, they're starting to play a little bit better. They did just lose at home to Carolina, so they're also coming off a pretty ugly loss, 4-1. But they have 2 days off, and they're staying at home, so I think the spot does set up better for Nashville here. So that is the way that I would lean in that game, Nashville. Toronto, it looks like the money agrees on that one. Toronto down from -120 to -109. 75% of the tickets and 97% of the cash on Nashville in that game. Vegas at Calgary. This is Saab's other game on Calgary here. Toronto scored 7 against Nashville earlier this year. You might be right about that. I don't know. I can't even keep it straight, man. Did they? Let me see. That should be in here, right? No, I guess it's not. Let me see. Is that right? Yeah, 7-4 back in October. They beat them in Toronto 7-4. I don't know if that matters much, though. I mean, teams probably aren't really going to remember like something that happened in October when it's two teams that just don't care that much about each other. All right, Vegas at Colorado. Saab likes Colorado, or Vegas at Calgary, excuse me. Definitely a difference between Colorado and Calgary. Saab likes Calgary here. Vegas, they just lost in a shootout to New Jersey in the return home spot, and now they start another road trip. Now, in a way, I actually think it's kind of a positive for Vegas, though, to start a road trip here. Because when a team loses at home and has a couple of days off, that can break the losing momentum. Starting a road trip, usually you are focused. But I think Saab is right that on this road trip, the bigger game is the fact that they have to play Edmonton tomorrow. So there are definitely some sandwich aspects of this where they just played a big game against New Jersey, lost in a shootout. 4 of their last 5 games and 5 of their last 7 have all gone to overtime or shootout. So, yeah, that is pretty difficult, yeah. We won on New Jersey, by the way, in that game against Vegas, because that was that single game homestand returning home from a road trip, wedged in between two road trips, the road trip sandwich. You know I like to fade teams in that spot. Now, for Calgary here, I already brought them up. Calgary, they just beat Seattle. They're staying at home. I agree the spot is better for them. They don't play again until they play Edmonton on Tuesday. So, yeah, I'm not going to disagree. The spot does set up better for Calgary here. Not on my card, but yes, I agree with it. Vegas up from minus 122 to minus 127. The money agrees as well. 59% of the tickets are on Vegas. 81% of the cash on Calgary. So, yes, I agree. Vegas has beaten the Flames twice already and embarrassed them 6-1. Yeah, but again, I mean, I think the more recent that it was, the more that it matters. Like, I think you might be putting too much stock in revenge. Although, yes, they did beat New Jersey. Oh, no, we're talking about Calgary. What am I saying? Yeah, Calgary. When's the last time they played? Yeah, that was early in the season, so I don't know if I'm going to put much weight into that. Like, I don't know if they're really going to remember something that happened in October. Like, I just completely ignored that. Like, I think revenge is definitely overvalued. You do not want to overvalue revenge here, man. Although I agree with Calgary in this one, but revenge, the things that matter the most are playoff revenge, the team that ended your season the first time you play them the next time. That is huge. That is a big thing. And then the recent revenge is kind of a thing, but it's more because it's a zigzag factor, which I did kind of use that in the Alabama game last night, where it's more that like the team that didn't do as well will make the adjustments in the next game, and the team that played well doesn't have the adjustments to make. You know what I mean? There's nothing to fix. You can't fix anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's more of what it is. The Oilers eliminated Vegas. Yeah, so when are they playing each? Well, they've already played this year, though, right? I don't know if I brought that up the first time I played this year or whatever. Vegas should have won that game. All right, but I'll still take a win when I get it, though. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Calgary is the right side. I agree with Saab in this one. It's not on my card, though. Yeah, the Oilers are playing tomorrow against Vegas, but the question is, have they played already this year? Because if they have, then I think it doesn't mean as much. Or the question is, have they beaten them yet? No, you're right. They haven't played yet. So, yes, all right, you're right. So, correct. So, that is that would be a playoff revenge spot then. You're correct about that. So, that makes the look ahead bigger. I mean, I already thought it was a look ahead for sure, but yeah, you're right. So, correct. So that makes that look ahead a little bit bigger. Yes, correct. It is a playoff revenge scenario. All right, let's finish this off. We have Columbus at Anaheim. This one, Columbus just beat Anaheim, and that was a win for us, I believe, on Tuesday with Columbus getting the job done for us in overtime. And then they lost right away to Minnesota, but now they're going out on the road. You know, I like that when a team is losing at home. Horrible homestand for Columbus, even though they got one win in there. One of the best things you can do is just forget about that and go on the road. I know they did just beat Anaheim, but I expect Columbus will show up for this one. Decent spot for them to focus on the first game of the road trip. Whereas for Anaheim, I question it because they're on a back-to-back. They played yesterday, but they got annihilated by Dallas, 8-3. I liked Dallas yesterday. It was the return home spot for Anaheim, but I didn't expect an 8-3 win for Dallas. So my lean was correct in that game, but still, holy crap. So now Anaheim's off of that, so I could see it going both ways here. Like, Anaheim might be embarrassed and actually show up for this game. And because the game before that, they did lose to this Columbus team. But again, it's a tough spot because it's a back-to-back. But I do talk about how when a team does really bad in the first game back home, they get settled back in at home. And a lot of times they will do better in the next game. So I do kind of worry about that a little bit. And for Columbus, remember, they are having to travel to the Pacific Coast for the first game of this road trip and start a late-night game. So, you know, I worry about that a little bit. So, yeah, I'll lean to Columbus slightly here, but this one I really don't love. Anaheim down from minus 120 to minus 109, 67% of the tickets and 77% of the cash on Columbus. But again, I don't really think Columbus is a public side here. I think it's just more that it's just professional money pretty much hitting the NHL board here. The public are going to be playing the football games today, man. and maybe NBA. They're not going to be playing hockey today for the most part. Correct. First time since the playoffs. You're correct about that. Ducks playing a 7th game in 12 days. Yeah, that makes it worse as well. Correct. Yeah. The Rapid revenge. Yes, correct. Exactly. And they're off, an embarrassing loss at home. Yeah, so I'm staying off of that one. So that means my last play in hockey is Seattle. We're going to be on the Kraken. Hopefully it does get Kraken here, man. The money's disagreeing with me right now with San Jose down from -115 to -114, but 78% of tickets, 95% of the cash on them for now. But we'll see if the money comes my way as the day goes on, because this game isn't until 10 p.m. Eastern. So Seattle, I think they're in a fine spot here to bounce back. I mean, they better. I mean, they've lost so many games recently. It's ridiculous. Yeah, they're an ass team, but and they had lost a Decord for a while, I believe, though he is back. But my guy from the Boston area, they've lost 10 of their last 11 games, man. So nobody's going to want Seattle here. But the odds makers are telling you something with the fact that San Jose doesn't even get full home ice on the line here. The odds makers are telling you San Jose is still so bad that Seattle's actually the better team. San Jose is pretty good at home at 10-6-3, so I worry about that a little bit. Seattle not great on the road, 5-7-3, but we're going to look at the spot here, man, and that's really what it's all about here. I know I faded the Knicks yesterday when they were really good at home, so that was only their second home loss of the season. Now, Seattle, I mean, they were coming off playing fairly tough against Colorado, so that loss on Thursday, maybe they were a bit hungover. Ugly loss against Calgary. I expect them to show up in this game against San Jose, man. Try to get a win on the road trip here. For San Jose, we're fading them because the spot is bad for San Jose. They just lost a 3-game win streak. They lost to Dallas, and this game was close. They were within 1 goal late in the game. The 5th goal for Dallas in that game was an empty net goal. That game was 4-3 for a long time late in the game. So San Jose, they played pretty well. They actually outstatted Dallas in some of the ways in that game. So that was a close game. That was a tough game for San Jose. And they lost a win streak on it. Now they play Seattle. And up next, they got to play Vegas, which is a much bigger game. I think a bigger opponent starting a road trip. So basically, this is a sandwich spot here that San Jose is in. That's what we're going to do. We're going to fade San Jose with, and that's the last game on the board with Seattle. Yes. So that is that. One more play to go. I think I have one NBA play. Yeah, the line does look a little bit fishy there in that one. Yeah, Kraken, 1 out of their last 10, correct. And they're basically have picked the winner against the Sharks, who have a decent-looking record. I'm not going to say the Sharks are actually good. The odds makers are telling you otherwise, and I've been saying that all season, that they're not actually as good as their record looks. All right, NBA, let's try to get through it, man. Houston is at Denver. We have like 10 NBA games today. It's way more than there are usually on Saturday. Now, this is a quick, I don't know if you want to call it a zigzag, because these teams played really close at Denver, so it's the same location. Back on Monday, that was a loss for us on the show. Houston got kind of screwed over with that bad foul call, which is why they lost the game, why the game went into overtime. I'm not happy about that. So now Houston's lost twice to Denver. I expect them to show up again here, man. Houston just in the sandwich spot on Thursday. We got the win on the New Orleans Pelicans there. Outright win for the Pelicans in that one. Houston was in the Denver sandwich, but it's still going to be a bit difficult, I think, for Houston to have to travel now back into elevation here. So I can't really do it, man. I can't get there with Houston. I liked it in the first matchup between the two. Don't really love it as much here now. This is going to be a huge game for both teams, really. Denver, the spot is kind of easier for them because they're just staying at home after they played Houston. They beat Orlando. Didn't start out well against Orlando, but then beat them. Now they're staying at home. So I kind of like this less. And the line is actually more towards Houston in this game because I think of the zigzag effect. Houston was going to be a +1.5 dog, which is what they were when we played them 2 games ago. Now they're actually a 1-point favorite in this game, so I don't think there's that much line value, really, on the Rockets here, although it is interesting the odds makers are telling you the Rockets are actually the better team here, even though they're 0-2 against the Nuggets this season. 68% of tickets, 69% of the cash on Houston. Oh, man. I mean, I don't even know if I agree with it. I just think the spot looks a little bit easier for Denver. I mean, Houston is going to be motivated, but having to do that travel and whatever, and Houston is off that really ugly loss. Denver's win over Orlando was a better win. So I don't know. I can see arguments both ways here. I really don't like this game. And this is the NBA TV game at 5 p.m. Eastern, by the way, so it's a little bit earlier. Keep that in mind, but I'm not touching this game. And, yeah, I don't think there are any injuries either, really, so there's no real reason for that line move. Like, no huge injuries coming in here, except, well, we know Aaron Gordon's already been out for Denver, so no injury from, like, between last game and this game. Dallas is at Philadelphia. Now, there are a lot of spots today where I'm like, I want to fade this team, but they're up against another team that I want to fade. So that's what's going on in the NBA today. There are, like, I think at least 2 games where both teams involved are in a fade spot. So I just can't do it, man. And this is one of them. Dallas just beat Detroit in overtime. So you got to think, well, they're going to be in a letdown spot after that. That was a huge win. But they are starting a road trip. And if they're going to focus on one game on the road trip between Philadelphia and New Orleans, it's going to be Philadelphia. I mean, they're not going to pay attention to New Orleans here. And, of course, we know Philadelphia, they got to be in a letdown spot, too. And they're on a back-to-back and coming back home. I know it's only from New York to Philly, not a big deal. But they've been on the road since last Sunday, actually. They went to Atlanta and then New York. I don't know if they were – maybe they went home and then went to New York. I'm not sure. But they beat the Knicks yesterday. That was our only play in the NBA yesterday. Huge win for Philadelphia there over the Knicks, man. So both teams here are in letdown spots. So only thing I do is just leave the game alone. When you see spots like that, I tend to lean over, but the money's coming in the under in this game. So do with all that what you want. The money's coming in on the Sixers. 62% of tickets, 87% of the cash coming in on the Sixers. They're a 3-point favorite here. I mean, the travel spot is kind of better for them because they're only returning from New York. So I guess you could make that argument. The Mavs are having to travel further. It's a difficult one, man. For what it's worth, the market read for now is saying the Sixers, even though they are on the back-to-back. But you know these NBA teams, they kind of counter the back-to-backs by resting guys. But that means you might get a Philadelphia team that doesn't have their full lineup either. So I don't know. Embiid is a game-time decision yet again. Oubre is still not back. So we'll see. And then a lot of injury report stuff going on. You got to look at what's going on with the injury report, too. You got game-time decision for AD and Klay Thompson for Dallas as well. So lot going on in that one. My Boston Celtics are at Toronto. The Celtics are on a back-to-back, and they're having to travel from Boston up to Toronto. Now, they did have a lot of rest prior to yesterday's game. I was right about the Celtics winning and covering yesterday, but the Celtics had a ridiculous fourth quarter in that game. Like, that game was close going into the fourth quarter, and the Celtics hit a franchise record 10 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. That's insane. 10 threes in the fourth quarter made by the Celtics in that game to get the cover against Miami. That's crazy. There's going to be some regression after that. The Celtics did just win the last time they were at Toronto. They're on a back-to-back, having to travel up there. I think you got to look to the Toronto side in this one. Toronto, they're returning home. They've had a day off. It was only a 2-game road trip, though, to Miami and Milwaukee. Technically, yeah, it's a return home spot where maybe you get distracted. And, yes, they do go right back out on the road again tomorrow. So it is one of those spots where you have to get stuff done at home really fast because you got to go right back out on the road. But I don't know. I don't see them overlooking the Celtics here. I got to lean towards the Raptors here. The money is saying otherwise. 74% of tickets, 63% of the cash on the Raptors. The Celtics are down from 2.5 to 1.5. So, I don't know. The Celtics look like an anti-public road favorite here, though. So, a lot of that has to do with just the number, though. So, it is very interesting that the Celtics, who have one fewer win than Toronto, are a road favorite against Toronto. So, the odds makers are telling you the Celtics are actually the better team. But, again, I consider the spot a lot more than most people do. And I think that's how you find an edge, by looking at the spot, because I think you can't really quantify it into the line. So I kind of disagree with the market in that one. Indiana at New Orleans. Indiana, they're coming off that big game against the Knicks where they fell just short. The Knicks got their playoff revenge. But that was a big game for Indiana, man. Now they start a road trip, and yeah, sometimes when you start a road trip, it's good to just get on home and focus on the road trip. But you know they're going to be focused more on the next game of this road trip, which is against the Boston Celtics. So this does look like a pretty big sandwich spot here. So you go, okay, well, then you want to play the Pelicans here, right? Well, no, because the Pelicans, yeah, they're playing better. They're on a 3-game win streak, but they just pulled off that huge overtime upset, that win for us that I mentioned against Houston. That was a huge win for New Orleans, so I think they're in a letdown spot here too. So, again, this is another one of those games where the two teams that I want to fade are playing each other, so I'm just going to pass. For some reason, the Pelicans are down from 4-2 here, and I looked at the injury report, and there wasn't really anything that I saw that would indicate that line move should have happened, so I don't get what's going on with that. Pacers are a public road underdog here, though. 79% of tickets, 68% of the cash on the Pacers. Public does not want anything to do with the Pelicans still, so I probably would still lean to the Pelicans. I think that sandwich spot plus the travel makes the spot worse for the Pacers here, but yeah, I mean, it looks like an anti-public play to lay it with the Pelicans. Maybe they win 4 in a row, man. That would be crazy. Charlotte at Detroit. Charlotte, they're coming into this off of 2 nice wins, an upset win over Cleveland, and then they came out of that with multiple days rest, and they beat Atlanta as well. Couple of big wins here. Now they're going to Detroit. They're going to be focused, but it's like, how many games could Charlotte really put in a big effort like this all in a row? You know what I mean? Like, at some point, I think it kind of runs out for them. Just the fatigue factor comes into play here. Detroit is coming off that pretty ugly loss to Dallas. They were coming off a big win at Boston, so they were kind of in a letdown spot. They got caught at Dallas. They're returning home here, but they've only been away for those 2 games since Monday, so it's not really one of those true road trip return spots here. So I kind of lean towards the Pistons in this one. The money is saying otherwise, though. They're up from 9.5 to 10.5. 90% of the tickets and only 89% of the cash on them. Obviously, they're the public side. I think they might get the job done in that one, though, and bounce back, but we're going to stay away. This next game, unfortunately, this is my play in the NBA, and this is the last play that I have today. Unfortunately, we're going to be on the Washington Wizards again. Plus 13 against Memphis. Memphis, I mean, they're easier to fade than San Antonio, at least. Washington, we had them in their last game, and they got blown out again at San Antonio. So what are we going to do? Yeah, we're going to go with them to try to go 2-1 on this road trip here. They're not going to, but at least maybe they can try to hang in this game against a Memphis team that's really just been chaotic this year, man. And Memphis, they're without Ja Morant again. I think they're still without Zach Edey. And by the way, for Memphis here, Ja Morant missed the last game. So they were in the injured player spot in their last game, and they actually won the game at Minnesota. So now they're returning home from a road trip, although it's only a 2-game road trip that they've been on since Monday. But they went to L.A., and they beat the Clippers. They had to go all the way to the Pacific Coast, went to Minnesota, pulled off that big upset in the first game now without Ja Morant again. And I know I talk about how they're better, like sometimes without Morant because he's bad for chemistry, but they do fall into that situation now where they're in a letdown spot and they're in the second game without their star player again, though. So sometimes the team takes a step back. And oh, yeah, look who Minnesota plays next. Yeah, the Oklahoma City Thunder is who they play next, man. They've already played them once and lost, and that's playoff revenge, I believe, is still intact for them. So that's a case where I think it does matter because OKC actually knocked Memphis out of the playoffs last year. I'm pretty sure Memphis has only played them once this year and lost. So that's still a factor there. This is a pretty major sandwich spot here, man, plus the second game with the injured player theory going on. Let me just make sure that Edey is not back, but I'm still going to do this either way. Yeah, Miranda's out. Edey's not even listed on the depth chart right now, so he is out. Actually, he was listed way down in the bottom right corner. He's out. So we're going to play Washington in this one, man. Yeah, and that's about it. Oh, well, market read. I think the market does agree on this one. Memphis is up to a 13-point favorite. 91% of tickets, only 86% of the cash on them. No idea why the line moved up because Morant is still out, so I have no idea what's going on there. But even if he plays, which I don't think he is, but even if he plays, I'm still going with it with the spot here. You get even more points with the Wizards if so. We're doing it. Wizards plus the points. That's the only play. Zach Edey is the Nephilim. Yes, that is correct. All right, let's see if I can get this done, man. Phoenix at Golden State. This is a little bit of a zigzag because Phoenix did just beat Golden State at home. That was a close line. I think Golden State was maybe a 1-point favorite there. I thought Golden State would win the game. They didn't. So now it might be Golden State does fix some things and they zigzag from that because that's what the zigzag is all about. But, I mean, you got to pay attention to all the injury situations going on here, too. Although I think both star players are back, though. I think Curry and Booker, I think both already played in that previous game, and I think they are playing tonight as well. So I think there's no real issue there as far as that's concerned. I think really the top players, I think, are pretty much intact for both teams here. So I think we don't really have to worry about that in this game. So it does kind of come down to more of a pure handicap here. Warriors are down from 6.5 to 6 on the line, though. 90% of tickets, 72% of the cash on the Warriors. So the money is fading the Warriors in this one and thinking that Phoenix is going to show up again. And I would slightly lean towards Golden State because I do think they're going to fix some things and do better this time. They are returning home from a road trip, although it was only a 2-game road trip, so not really a huge road trip return. I think they will be focused because this Phoenix team just beat them. But then again, Golden State can win and not win by margin. This line does look a little bit high, maybe over-adjusted to the fact that Golden State lost in the last game. I think the line should probably be closer to about 5 here, but we will see what happens here, man. I mean, I slightly lean against the market in that one and towards the Warriors, but definitely not touching it. Orlando at Utah. This is another one of those ones where I was like, maybe I want to fade Orlando because they just had couple of big games. They got bounced from the semifinals of the NBA Cup. Then they had to go to Denver, although it was with 4 days off. They played really well in the first half against Denver, and they were still kind of hanging around in that game, and then they fell short. Now they have to play a second game in elevation against Utah. They have a bigger opponent next in Golden State, so it does kind of look like a sandwich here. Problem is Utah just had a really good performance against the Lakers, and they just hung in that game against the Lakers that whole time, so they could be in a bit of a hangover spot here. They play Denver next as well, so both teams are in bad spots here as far as I can tell. Orlando, you got to look at the injury situation for them because a lot of their guys have been out. Looks like Wagner is still out here. Suggs is DD? Is that day-to-day? I don't even know. But you got to pay attention to, are those guys coming back or not? And if you get a reverse injured player spot in here for Orlando, maybe it makes sense to fade them even more. But in this game, overall, the money is coming in towards the Jazz. Magic are a 7-point road favorite here, 7.5-point road favorite. 56% of tickets on the Magic, 79% of the cash on the Jazz. I'll agree with the market in that one, but I don't love it. I don't want to play the Jazz off that huge performance. Then we have Portland at Sacramento. This is also a zigzag kind of where Portland just beat Sacramento at home. But Portland was a decent favorite in that one. So they almost lost as a big favorite. So you could argue that maybe Portland will actually be the team that plays better here. Now going out on the road to face Sacramento. Sacramento's returning from a 2-game road trip, so not really a huge issue there. Sabonis is still not back. The money is saying the Kings here, though. Blazers up from 4 to 4.5, 88% of the tickets, only 78% of the cash on them. I'll agree with taking the points there, but again, I don't love it. Maybe Sacramento does fix some things and play better this time, although they actually played pretty well, only losing the game in overtime the last time out. But Portland does play Detroit next, so there is maybe a little bit of a look-ahead component to that. And then we have the Battle of L.A., which is technically at the Clippers Arena here, Lakers at Clippers. Lakers coming off that close game against Utah, now coming down out of elevation. You'd think they might bounce back from that, but they do have Phoenix and Houston on deck. Those are bigger games. Clippers, they've been an absolute disaster. They're coming back to L.A. from Oklahoma City. They lost by double digits, though. You got to think they will show up for a game against the Lakers, though. Clippers are well underperforming their talent level here. But the most interesting thing about this game is it looks way too easy to play the Lakers. They're down to a 1-point favorite here from a 4-point favorite. 63% of tickets, 83% of the cash on the Clippers. I'm not going to disagree with the Clippers because it looks like an absolute trap to play the Lakers here, but you got to keep in mind that the reason for that line drop is Austin Reeves is going to miss this game. So the Lakers do have LeBron and Luka, but they're pretty shorthanded otherwise. Ayton is also hurt. So Austin Reeves is the main reason why this line has moved like this, with the Lakers dealing with a lot of injuries. But then again, when you have one of those players get injured like that, sometimes the team will be more inclined to step up their game after that. So lean to the Clippers because it looks way too easy to play the Lakers, but not touching it. No touching. All right, and then we have college football. The first game up was going to be the night game, but now it's moved up because the NFL is going to be competing with college football here. The NFL starts in the afternoon, so the only competitive matchup out of these playoff games today, it's all college football playoff today. The only competitive matchup was going to be the night game, primetime, but now because the NFL is there, it gets an isolated noontime game on ESPN, which is number 10 Miami and number 7 Texas A&M. The money seems like it's fading A&M at this point, and I do not disagree. 60% of tickets, only 54% of the cash on A&M. They're down from 4 to 3 here. The line might drop below 3 at this point, man. It looks like the late money is all over Miami in this one. And I kind of agree. Miami, they have the more experienced quarterback with Carson Beck. So that is something to look at here. They're not going to be thrown off by weather or anything like that, even though they're going to be on the road here. It's Texas. It is actually going to be raining, though, I think. Wait, did I hear that it was going to be raining? No, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know why I thought that. It's going to be in the mid to high 60s, so obviously no issue there playing in Texas. So Miami should be fine. Again, they have the more experienced quarterback. Miami's defense is actually underrated, I think. So coming into this game, I think Miami actually... Believe it or not, Miami might actually have the better defense. And the main reason why I kind of like Miami here is that they're the only ACC team that got into the playoff, and everybody's blasting the ACC. Like, the ACC sucks, whatever. They had these shit teams in their conference final, whatever. People are saying Miami shouldn't be in. Even I'm saying that Notre Dame should be in. I'm not necessarily saying Miami shouldn't be in. I think they're the best team in the ACC, but I'm saying Notre Dame should be in, and James Madison and Tulane should not be in. I am saying that. I think Notre Dame's a top 5 team. But, of course, Miami wound up getting in because they beat Notre Dame. So the rankings makers flip the rankings or whatever. But that's going to put a chip on Miami's shoulder, man, because there are so many people saying Miami shouldn't be here. And you know that the committee wants nothing more than both of those teams to win, right? Alabama and Miami. The committee wants them both to win so that everybody shuts up about them not putting Notre Dame in, you know what I mean? So it would be great for the committee if you believe that this game is rigged for Miami to win here. I think they might. My hesitation with it is how did they finish the season? And Miami finished hot. So I don't like that. This is why part of the reason I went against Oklahoma. Just like Oklahoma, Miami finished on a 4-game win streak. They looked really good to finish the season, but when you do that, you don't want to be off for that long, man. So that's one issue that I have with it, is it might disrupt their momentum. Whereas for Texas A&M, they already lost their momentum. So I think that loss actually kind of benefits Texas A&M a little bit. They were undefeated until the last game that they played, and they lost to Texas. And normally I would say you're going to be hung over coming into the next game. But since they've had so much time off, that was back on November 28th, I don't think so. I think they've had a lot of time off to kind of recuperate from that loss. So that's my one hesitation with it. I lean to taking the points with Miami. Hopefully you can get 3.5 on this. The public should be holding this line up a little bit on the A&M side there. We will see, but I lean to Miami there in that game, man. We might get... And everybody's always, like they were saying yesterday, everybody's talking about, the home teams in the playoffs dominated last year. But I said, yeah, it was the first time that they've had this playoff structure, and every home team was a 7 or more point favorite here. So that's why they dominated. Now, we do have Tulane and Ole Miss on TNT at 3:30. Number 11, Tulane, won the American. Number 6, Ole Miss. There are some weird things going on here. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, Texas A&M, I think one of their coordinators left already, I think. Texas A&M, so that's kind of a weird thing there. Both head coaches are still there, though, but kind of weird that one of their coordinators left. Now, for Tulane and Ole Miss, we already know the big thing here is that Lane Kiffin left for Ole Miss. So the question is going to be, how motivated does Ole Miss get for their interim coach, which is their defensive coordinator, got elevated to the head coaching role. Golding, I think is his name. So he's their coach now. Lane Kiffin, I believe... I think their OC actually stayed, even though I think because it's Charlie Weiss Jr. Junior in many ways to his fat father, Charlie Weiss. But Charlie Weiss Jr., I think, is staying, even though it looks like he's probably going to go to LSU with Lane Kiffin eventually. But he's here for this game. Now, how does that affect Ole Miss, though, with Lane Kiffin being like, nope, I'm not even going to coach you guys in the playoff? I don't know. It's hard to predict. I could see them being lackluster because of it. But if they like Golding, I could see them showing up and wanting to play well. They're in the playoff, man. So, I mean, that is obviously, you're going to be motivated because you're in the fucking playoff. You're going to try to win, clearly. But so is Tulane, and Tulane is in a spot where they're basically just free-rolling, and everybody's saying they shouldn't be here. And yeah, Tulane's coach is piecing out as well, Sumrall. He's going to be the coach of Florida, which is, well, actually, yeah, is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. He's going to be the coach of Florida, and Billy Napier got fired from Florida, and Billy Napier, I think, is going to James Madison, I believe is what's happening. That's all crazy. But yes, excuse me, for Tulane here, yeah, I think they might play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulders. People are saying they shouldn't be here or whatever. I don't know how they're going to be affected by Sumrall leaving, but he is still there. He's going to coach them for as long as they're in the playoffs. And the other thing about this matchup is it's not a bad location for Tulane because it's very close to them going to Ole Miss. And they already played there this year, although they lost 45-10. Ole Miss blew them out, but Tulane has played there once before, and it could set up kind of a zigzag opportunity where maybe Tulane fixes some things, you know what I mean? Some things that went wrong that first time. Ole Miss doesn't really have anything to fix. And when you have a playoff structure like this, you know that teams like Ole Miss and Oregon, they're both going to want to get in and get out without getting their players injured. You know what I mean? They both know they're huge favorites. They can get in and get out of this game. All they need to do is win. You don't need style points, right? So you don't need to cover a huge number. So if I was going to play it, I would take the points with Tulane. They're up from 16.5 to 17. Ole Miss is 87% of tickets, 82% of the cash. 78% of tickets, 82% of the cash on Ole Miss. But I would lean towards Tulane in that one. And then pretty much similar for James Madison, but I don't like them as much, even though, yeah, their coach is also, I believe, leaving. So they know that Billy Napier is coming in, but their coach is staying to coach this game. I forget their coach's name, though. Oregon's got a legit shot to get pretty far in this playoff, man. They're like one of the top 4 teams in college football, though this is a 5 versus 12 here. But I don't like James Madison as much because they're having to play a night game on the Pacific Coast in a very unfamiliar environment. So that's worse for James Madison. And even though they're a good team and a balanced team, they run the football primarily. So if they fall behind, they're not going to be able to catch up. So I do kind of worry about all that. But I still think it might be a situation where Oregon just kind of gets in, gets out. You know what I mean? Like they just want to just go through the motions here. Oregon, of course, did finish the season on a high note. So they've had time off, which might disrupt their momentum, but the same thing could be said for James Madison. So both teams have the same type of layoff that might disrupt their momentum. And same for Tulane and Ole Miss, I believe. So all 4 of these teams both ended the season on win streaks, so it's kind of a wash as far as the situation for all of these teams. But anyway, yeah, so Oregon, they're laying a lot of points here, 21. They're public, 80% of tickets, 80% of the cash on them, and a very low total, down to 45.5. So laying 21 points with a total that low, I don't love that idea. So if you force me to give an opinion on this, I would probably take the 3 touchdowns with James Madison. They're going to try to slow the game down and run the football. But again, I definitely have some reservations about it. That's probably the weakest opinion. And my strongest opinion out of these 3 would be Miami, then Tulane, and then James Madison. But I lean to all 3 dogs. All right, NFL, before I get out of here, I don't have a play on these 2 games, but I have an opinion on both. First game is at 5 p.m. on Fox. We get Saturday NFL here now. Philadelphia at Washington. Now, Philadelphia, they're laying points on the road here. These teams actually haven't played yet this year. They played 2 out of the last 3 weeks. You know that I keep talking about how Philadelphia's offense has been struggling and they don't cover, like they don't win by margin, except for beating the Giants. And then last week they obliterated Vegas. But Vegas was with Kenny Pickett in the game, and it was just a disaster. Vegas basically didn't even show up and had no offense. So Philly looks better than they actually are. It was a nice bounce-back win for them, but Philly, they just don't really win by margin. They're having to go on the road again here. They haven't been great on the road this year, really, though they did have one good win at Green Bay. And I guess they did win at Tampa Bay, at Kansas City earlier in the season, so maybe I'm wrong. But recently they haven't been as good on the road, losing to Dallas and the Chargers on the road. They do have Buffalo up next. I don't know if that's really a look ahead, because I know this is a divisional game, but Philly's already won the division here, man. Like, nobody's going to catch them. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, what do they have to play for now? Seeding and whatever. I mean, they're already going to get a home game to start the playoffs. So their reasons to show up is dwindling, let's say. And Washington, what have I talked about? When a team is dead like Washington, one of the types of games they're going to get up for is a big divisional matchup like this, especially when it's an isolated football game like this, nationally televised, which this is. So they're going to get up for it. And Washington had just lost 8 games in a row and finally won against the Giants. So I like that, because that will boost their confidence. You know what I mean? It'll end that losing momentum for them. Finally, they get a win. They'll show up for a game against the Eagles. It's going to be Marcus Mariota. I think Daniels is shut down for the season, which he already should have been. They shouldn't have even tried to get him back out there, man, because he's just going to get wrecked. His career is in jeopardy. But Marcus Mariota's been good this year, so yeah, I like Washington in that one. You're getting 7.5 now, even better. 82% of tickets and cash on the Eagles. They're very public. Total's not that high, in the mid-40s. I would only take the points with Washington, especially now that you're getting a key number there, 7.5. Washington's the only way I would play that one. It's not that strong for me, though. And then Green Bay at Chicago. People might look at this and think, oh, this is going to be a zigzag spot, a revenge spot, because Green Bay just beat Chicago at home. But I don't think so, because Green Bay actually didn't play that well in that game, and they're still the better team. And then Green Bay didn't look good last week going to Mile High. Green Bay was winning that game by 9, and then they turned the ball over in Denver territory. They were about to take a 3-score lead, and instead Denver went the other way and scored and got right back in the game. If that one turnover doesn't happen, Green Bay probably wins that game. So now they're coming off a loss that wasn't that great. They're going to be focused because the division is on the line here, and Chicago is ahead of Green Bay right now. So a little bit more urgency on the Green Bay side. And Green Bay is going to be an underdog here. Yes, I know Chicago's 5-1 at home, but who have they beaten at home? Cleveland, Pittsburgh, the Giants, the Saints, and they did beat Dallas. They caught them in a bad spot too, but that is not impressive. Those wins at home, man, for the Bears. Again, the Bears have faced a really weak schedule. They beat Cleveland 31-3 last week, so they looked better in the sandwich week here, and I know we took a loss on that, but I still think Green Bay is the better team. Both teams are going to show up for this. The Bears are a dreaded public home favorite here. 61%. I was going to say public home underdog, but they're a favorite now. And you can see the look-ahead line here. The Eagles, by the way, that 5.5 was a look ahead. So just based on last week's results, the Eagles are now a touchdown. So you know you're getting value on playing Washington and playing the Packers. Because you can see that the line before last week's games, the line was different. The line was Packers -3 in this game. And then last week happened, and Micah Parsons got hurt. But I don't think that really affects the line that much, man. I know he's a guy that really impacts the game. He didn't really impact the game against the Bears the last time, though. I know he got hurt, but that doesn't move the line 4 points. A defensive player is not going to move the line like that. So this is all recency bias here. We're now Green Bay. They were going to be a field goal favorite, and now they're a 1-point dog here. I think the only way you can play this game is Green Bay. 61% of the tickets and 50% of the cash on the overrated Bears here. Green Bay has the way better defense, and that is also the main difference here. Packers' offense is mediocre. The Bears' offense is really below average, too. But the big difference is the Packers way better defensively. They're the better team. I would play the Packers in this one. And that is it, man. That's going to do it. I know I felt like I rushed him. I'm trying to get this thing out so I can get my bowl stuff intact here. Once again, the plays. College basketball, you got NC Central plus the points. Denver plus the points. Mississippi State minus the points. Hockey, Blues, split bet. Make your own +1 puck line. Kraken, money line. And Washington Wizards, NBA. We're skipping football today. Sorry, but I just don't feel strongly enough about the football. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can subscribe to me on there now. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here. Tell everybody about it. Covered in Uke, my other channel on YouTube. You can check that out, the Uke stuff. We're on audio with this show. Give me a good review on Apple, Spotify. Listen over there. Losercast, my other show, my comedy show. You can check that out on YouTube. And the Giants show should start at some point, the G Spot, but I don't know where you can find it. So thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys all coming back. Hopefully Jeffrey's okay. I think he might have lost his bankroll again, and now he's not showing up again. We'll see. Hope you're out there and you're all right, Jeffrey. Got to get this video up and stuff. Peace, guys. Thanks for hanging out this morning. I'll be back tonight with the NFL show for the Sunday slate. I like the Sunday slate. I'm probably going to have maybe 3 plays for the NFL tomorrow, so that's what we're doing. I'll be back then. Peace.